My name is Jonathan Dickerson. I'm in the Denver, Colorado market and want to tell you a little bit about the success that we had in the education category here. Began with a really deep dive into the category to make sure that I had a full understanding in terms of not just who the players were, but who the players weren't. Wanted to find those clients who weren't currently doing anything either with us or in the market. Better understanding in terms of what's happening in the education market, in our market, was absolutely instrumental to being able to, as we'll get to, get the appointments that we got and be the expert in the field. Some of the first things that we did was try and find out where are they currently spending their money and who does it seem to be that they are targeting. Used clear channels tools, primarily the exchange, to see the case studies and what has worked really well in the other markets. CSG got a couple of spec spots there to send out as feeler emails to some of the points of contact we were hoping to get meetings with, and use, of course, media monitors and X-ray. Now this is where it got really interesting for me as I'm doing the research. I noticed a lot of the people who were doing advertising specifically as it pertained to TV, even some print, they were advertising not just on media that really wasn't consumed heavily by the 18 to 24 adults that they were looking for, but was really in the wrong place. For example, we get some of the advertising on television that's really in the middle of a show, geared towards folks in their 50s or 60s, and we're talking about, hey, you should go back to school and get your degree so your career can be on a new path. Clearly a mismatch there between the folks in the marketing department and the folks in the strategic department at some of these schools. Also on the print side, found a number of schools that are advertising with these great programs, but they're advertising in maybe the wrong section because it isn't a lot of 18 to 24s who are super interested in international affairs, which is right where their ad gets placed. So finding that disconnect really opens up the door, opened the door for me and can open up the door for you when you're going to connect with these folks. Wanted to get in front of some of these folks, and so we put together a list of some solid, relevant business reasons, including those case studies, including those spec spots from CSG, and including some information about other successful endorsements that we've done in this building for some other schools in this market, and started calling. You sit on the phone for a while before you get the appointments, but you absolutely, you got to put the time in, and once you've put the time in, you've got these folks on the phone. Be ready to say, I've noticed that a lot of the advertising in your market is on maybe this station, which is really a really popular station with those over 50. Is that something you've noticed? I've noticed that a lot of the folks in this market are trying to deal with the fact that a lot of kids are trying to go back to school, but maybe the loan program isn't available the way it used to be. How are you addressing that? And when you're asking these questions that really make the client, a prospective client at this point, very clearly aware, this guy knows what he's talking about, this lady, she's got her stuff together, then it makes you the expert that they want to lean to and come bring their questions. So get that first appointment after the phone call. It was a fun phone call because during it she said, I'm not really sure that radio is going to work. That's fair. Here's what I want you to do. Step outside of your office door. I knew where her office was and part of the building that it was in because I scoped out the location, and I knew that there's a student area real close to where she was. I said, just go ask the first 10 people who you come across. If you listen to radio, what's your favorite station? As it turns out, 8 of those 10 kids who she asked while I'm holding on the phone mentioned stations that we have. So she says, okay, you've piqued my interest. All I want to do is get that first meeting. So I'm going to say, great, I want to go over a couple of ideas with you. When are you available? Get the first meeting. We do the full CNA so I can make sure all the things that I've learned in my research that I'm pretty sure I've got a good understanding of, she can confirm. So then when I put an idea in front of her, I know she's not going to say, I'm not interested, this won't work, because she's already teed it up for me to know this is exactly what she's looking for. What are your goals for this year? Who are you trying to reach? What are you currently doing and how well is it working? The success that you've been seeing, has it been trailing off or has it been pretty steady? We get the answers, and of course, it's not what she's been looking for. What's worked in the past isn't working currently. She's open to some new ideas, but she's price conscious. So we say, okay, we'll put the proposal together. Let's go through it. Now, address your needs in that proposal. I want to make sure that all the market information that we both agreed on is in that proposal. I'm going to give you the details of this station and why it makes sense as part of this proposal, and I'm going to toss in the case studies from the other markets because I know it's worked really well there. There's no reason it can't work really well for you. Sealed the deal, and you could see it in the eyebrows that went up in the room as we played the spec spot that our production crew put together. all of a sudden the light came on. It was a very subtle thing, but it was really exciting to watch, because at that moment you knew they're hooked, they're in, and they were. They bought more in the next 6 months than they had in the previous 2 years, and in the past 6 months they've bought more than they bought all of last year, with more plans for this fall. This was a tremendous success. We're very excited to have them as a partner, and going through the recap was just truly a joy, because you don't often have the ability to walk back through and say, hey, remember when you said this wasn't going to work, and then we blew it out of the water, and remember how you said this wasn't going to work, and we blew that out of the water too? Remember how we brought you in under budget because we're way less expensive than TV and print? It was very exciting, and I know that you too can be a great expert in this field when you put your energies into learning the market, learning those schools, and learning the needs that they have.